I'll admit my disenchantment when you admit you know what I'm talking about.
Matters in a new morgue.
Hello, all my loyal viewers, all my Cover Killer Nation. This is a new little idea that I had entitled Moments with the Madman, Minutes with the Madman, News with the Madman, whatever the hell you want to call it, or just what I like to call it, Coverkillings. This is a little thing where I talk to you about some of the things that are kind of on my mind, whether it be in the music business, the film business, whatever, as of late. And the very first one came to mind a number of weeks ago, and I just finally decided to record it tonight. And that is the difference between the Billboard Top 20 as opposed to the FYE Top 20, because it's kind of funny. The Billboard Top 20 is, of course, a lot more official. It is something that really is way more respectable than the FYE Top 20, and I will tell you reasons as to why. A lot of the number one albums that are on the Billboard Top 20 you will not see as number one in the FYE Top 20. It's not something that is accurate. It's something that's more driven towards sales within the company, I believe, or just some sort of list that they put together for no rhyme or reason. You be the judge, because I sure as fuck don't know. For example, there are a lot of number ones that you see on the Billboard Top 20 that you do not see on the FYE Top 20. A couple of notable examples include Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold, The Arcade Fire Suburbs, and as well, oddly enough, Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. Now, why is this something that's important? It's because it's unique that it's dictated mainly by the sales of the company itself. Eminem has been number one for the longest time, and then for no reason whatsoever, this past week comes, and Drake is number one. And that makes absolutely no sense, considering nobody gives a damn about that Drake album, at least around here. Break time! But yeah, I kind of found that interesting, considering you really want to dictate your sales kind of based around what is popular in the whole entire nation, as opposed to just within your own company or within your own store. It really paints kind of a very veiled picture. But another thing that is really unique is I mentioned the whole Arcade Fire Suburbs thing being number one on the Billboard, but not on the FYE Top 20. There's something that I noticed this year, that there is an influx of indie bands that are making the push towards the Top 20. Whether it be the FYE Top 20 or the Billboard Top 20, bands such as the Black Keys, Mumford & Sons, and of course the Arcade Fire, which made it all the way to number one. The Avett Brothers is another one that I'm thinking about, who just recently released a live DVD/CD set, which I kind of examined and noticed something, and that's that their last album, I and Love and You, is actually a major label release for a band that perhaps a couple of years ago may have been labeled as an indie band. And of course, thinking about all these indie bands that are making it to the top 20, I thought to myself, and this is something that came to mind, I was like, you know what? What happens to an indie band whenever they go to a major label? What happens if the Black Keys or Mumford & Sons, the Arcade Fire, or any one of the countless other independent bands out there were to go to a large label? They can no longer be considered indie, correct? Now what are they? Do you finally give them the label of alternative pop or alternative rock music, folk rock, folkternative, whatever that you want to call it? Do you finally, after all those years, bestow that label upon it, or is this something that has to be kind of rethought or reformatted? They're no longer indie bands, they're now meiji bands, or major bands, or whatever you want to call it. It's an interesting little topic of conversation that's kind of always bugged me. It's something that, you know, we of course saw with the original indie bands that came through the crop in the early part of the 2000s, like the Death Cab for Cuties, that were able to get a lot of mainstream appeal and a lot of mainstream success. So what do they consider now? Just alternative rock, or shit that not a lot of people listens to anymore? Yeah, I went there. So of course I did a review of the new Enslaved album last week. I'll probably be doing one for the new Demu album this week. The new Demu album. And I'm doing a lot of these along with my discographies, mainly because I'm going to a lot of these concerts coming up. This coming Thursday, of course, there's Watain and 1349 and a bunch of other bands that are going to be in the Pittsburgh area, which is going to be awesome. About 11 days later, Nevermore comes through with their tour with Warbringer and a couple of other bands. The early part of November, actually, is the Watain tour, which was, of course, supposed to be headlined by Behemoth. However, now Watain is the front runners. They are the main act, and I could not be more stoked, considering Lawless Darkness is definitely a candidate for one of the top 20 albums of the year. Then there's Killfest. Killfest comes on the 25th of November and is going to be just absolutely fantastic. In case you don't know, I absolutely adore Overkill. I love that band to fucking death. Saw them once whenever I was on whenever they were on Gigantor back in 2006. They were only supposed to get like a half-hour set. They got to play for like at least an hour. Really surreal, really like orgasmic experience. And right smack dab in the middle of that, in fact, there's 6 days between I believe there's 6 days between the Watain show and this Dimmu show that I will probably be going to that involves Enslaved, Blood Red Throne, and a couple of other bands as well. This is kind of like a last-second decision, mainly because I listened to that Enslaved record and love Enslaved probably more than any other band on that tour, and here they're coming through town, and I absolutely have to go to the show now. I've been going through all my old Enslaved discs. You know, it's just been kind of a nice reawakening for me. Maybe a project of mine in the future? But yeah, man, has that ever happened to you, or has that ever happened to you loyal subscribers of the Cover Killer Nation? Have you ever gone to a concert not for the main band, not for the headliner, but instead for the support acts? Has that ever happened for you? Now, yeah, I could claim that that's exactly what I did every single year I went to Ozfest, considering it was probably true. However, I'm talking like on these small little tours. I'm talking like on a tour that you're going to go to that's going to be in the back of like a nightclub, or a tour that's going to be in a small little theater that was converted out of an old chapel, or, you know, an old cathedral. You know, have you ever gone to one of these shows? It'd be like me saying that I went to Porcupine Tree earlier this year to see Big Elf. But really, the funny thing is that I've done that myself. The first time I went to see Dimmu Borgir, I went more so to see Nevermore, Hypocrisy, and Children of Bodom, because those were three bands that I was more into at the time than Dimmu, although I will say the Dimmu set was rather orgasmic by its own right, playing two of my songs back to back. Those little fuckers are just playing with my emotions. Yeah. But has that been something that you've ever done, my Cover Killer Nation? Have you ever gone to a show, not for the main act, but rather for the support act? One awesome phone call later. Finally, Nation, I have a great announcement for you, and that's the fact that the second Cover Killer band review should be coming pretty soon. And I actually need your help to determine what band it's going to be. Why? Because I have two ideas, and there's two ideas that I have to get off of my chest. And they're both going to be probably of the angry variety, and you probably know why from the minute that I say these two names. And I want to know from you guys, the loyal fans of Cover Killer Nation, the nation that surrounds me, what band it should be. Is it going to be ICP or Korn?